Hi, welcome to Survivor to Survivor. So let's dive into the question when they ask, why didn't you tell anyone? It's a question survivors hear far too often, sometimes from friends, sometimes from family, sometimes from strangers, even on the internet. Why didn't you tell anybody? Well, today we're going to dive into that question because it hurts and what survivors are really navigating behind closed doors and why silence does not equal weakness, right? So, this episode is for every survivor who stays silent and every person who's ever wondered why.
Survivor to survivor, break the silence. In the depths of silence, a voice emerges. A voice that says, "You are not alone." Welcome to Survivor, where strength rises through shared stories, where pain transforms into resilience, where survivors connect and empower each other. Your story matters. Your voice matters. You matter. Join the movement. Subscribe now. Welcome to Survivor.
So today we got an email, and the subject was, why didn't I tell anyone? Hi, Survivor to Survivor. I ran into an old friend recently, and when they found out about everything I had went through, the first thing they asked was, why didn't you ever tell me? I didn't know what to say. The truth is, I wanted to tell someone, but I was so afraid of what would happen if I did. I thought maybe people wouldn't believe me, or they'd say I was overreacting, or somehow would make it even worse or all my fault. Now I feel ashamed, like I'm weak for staying quiet all those years. How do I even explain this to people? And how do I stop feeling like I failed myself by not speaking up sooner? Well, the first thing I want to say is thank you for sharing something that is raw and honest, because what you're feeling is something almost every survivor has wrestled with at some point in their life. So here's the truth: no one can say this loud enough for you, right? Not speaking up was not a failure, it was survival. Abuse doesn't start with bruises, it starts with control, with fear, with tiny little cracks in your confidence until you're questioning your own reality, right? And when you finally do consider telling someone, a million fears hit you all at once. Will they believe me? Is the first one. Will I be blamed? Um, will they find out and hurt me, the abuser? Will I lose my kids? Is another big one. Or will everybody think I'm just crazy? Right? Those aren't irrational fears. And for many survivors, they are reality. And even when you do speak up, too often people are met with judgment and blame, and they're brushed off entirely. So sometimes staying silent isn't about giving up, it's about hanging on. You didn't fail, you've survived. And whether you tell your story now or later, that's your right. You owe no one an explanation for how you survived. And those who asked, well, why didn't you tell? If you've asked that question, the real question should be, why did you have to live in a world that made you so afraid to speak out? Because they're not alone in this. And everyone is afraid to speak out at some point. So I just want to say your story matters, whether it's spoken or not. So if you're a survivor who stayed silent, please hear this. Your silence was not weakness, it was your strength in a world that made speaking dangerous. And when you're ready, your voice will come. And even if it doesn't come out publicly, that's okay. Your experience is still valid. If you want to submit your question for a future Survivor to Survivor episode, email us at podcast@breakthesilencedv.org. And if you want to help make a difference while you're shopping, keep listening because I'm going to tell you how you can do that through Spark Good. So every time you shop at Walmart, you have a chance to support BTSADV through Spark Good Roundup program. Just visit walmart.com/sparkgood, select Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence as your charity, and choose to round up your total at checkout. Your change, big or small, can help us keep breaking the silence and supporting survivors everywhere. It's simple and it's powerful and it matters. And we will see you next Friday on Survivor.